You're about to find out why some goddesses never smiled again. From above, golden petals fall like blessings. Beautiful, soft, until you see the cold glint of hidden thorns. Some drip drops of something red. It's not dew. In the center of the hanging garden, Aphrodite, perfection incarnate. Every feature is sculpted to seduce, but the smile it offers doesn't reach its eyes. There, deep down, is something sharper than any thorn. Behind her, a gallery of statues, so perfect they look alive. But when you get closer, you realize the truth. They are not statues. They are goddesses, petrified at the exact moment fear took over their faces. The marble holds every line of dread as if it were art. The scent of the flowers is intense, almost too sweet. It envelops, distracts, pushes away any thought, until you find yourself breathing faster, as if you were running out of air. Aphrodite takes a step towards him. The sound is not of footsteps. It is that of a verdict approaching. Today, you will learn about the silent war that Aphrodite waged against other goddesses. You'll see how, on Olympus, beauty was not just a gift, but the most deadly of weapons. And you will discover why some rivals preferred to disappear rather than continue breathing under the same sky as her. The garden is open. The invitation is made. Do you accept or decline, knowing you may never get another chance? Reply in the comments, but be careful. On Olympus, even a wrong compliment can be a crime.
Aphrodite's hanging garden floats above a sea of golden clouds. Blue roses intertwine with red thorns, forming arches so beautiful they border on the impossible. The perfume is dense, almost palpable, sweet enough to intoxicate, heavy enough to suffocate. With every step, petals fall like silent snow. Among them, metallic sparkles, gold coins, rare jewels, pearl crowns, offerings left by gods, kings, and mortals desperate to buy a moment of her favor. Aphrodite watches everything like a queen who has already won the war before it even begins. His gaze glides over the offerings, but never for long, as if gold and stones were just crumbs. A sound changes the air. From the marble portal, Hera enters. Erect posture, sharp gaze, firm steps, as if the garden were hers. Behind, Athena appears silently, with her helmet in her hands and eyes measuring every detail. Neither of them smiles. The tension is so thick that even the scent of the flowers seems to change. Less sweet, more metallic. You feel like you're witnessing something no one should see, three forces that rarely share the same space and never do so without ulterior motives. Aphrodite does not get up. She just crosses her legs, rests her chin on her hand, and waits. The silence between them is sharper than any blade of Hephaestus, a silence that seems to ask, who will strike the first blow? And you? Would he stay and listen, or would he flee before the poison spread? The three exchange glances as if sharpening swords, but swords made of words. And when Athena gives you a half smile, you ask yourself, if they started talking about you, would it be a compliment or a sentence?
Between the roses and the gold, two presences steal some of the garden's light. The first is Persephone, silent beauty, as if every movement were a shadow dancing in the twilight. Her gaze holds the chill of the underworld and the brightness of spring, a contrast even Aphrodite cannot ignore. The second is Eos, the dawn personified. When she walks, the light changes color. hair as golden as the first ray of day, skin that seems to retain the warmth of the rising sun. Wherever she goes, eyes follow, and Aphrodite notices. If Aphrodite saw you admiring another goddess, would you be able to escape with your eyes intact? The game starts subtly. A rose given to Persephone, perfect on the outside, but with thorns so fine they cut painlessly, until the poison begins to work. For Eos, a necklace left by mistake in her chambers, studded with rubies that seemed to shine brighter under moonlight, a blush of scandal no one would forget. The conversations on Olympus begin to change. Short sentences, muffled laughter, and always, at the center of rumors, Aphrodite's name appears as if she were just commenting on the inevitable. She doesn't raise her voice. Don't point the finger. She plants the seeds and waits for the poison to bloom. On Olympus, beauty attracts and destroys. Persephone, suspicious, avoids the garden. Eos, proud, frequents him even more, perhaps to prove that she fears nothing. But each visit leaves invisible marks, longer looks, conversations interrupted when she approaches. Aphrodite watches from afar, a slight smile on her lips. It's not joy, it's a calculation. On the board of Olympus, she doesn't need to knock down pieces with her own hands. She just needs to make sure the others destroy each other. And you, watching everything, begin to realize, perhaps the most dangerous war on Olympus has no armies or weapons, just perfumes, smiles, and looks that kill more slowly than a blade.
The wind in the garden changes, and suddenly you are no longer there. The scenery dissolves into gold, and the past appears before your eyes. The golden snitch, the inscription engraved on it, shines like fire. To the most beautiful. 3 goddesses before a mortal, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, each one promising something impossible to win the verdict. Hera, absolute power over kingdoms. Athena, wisdom and eternal victories. Aphrodite, just a smile, and the promise of the most beautiful woman in the world. Would you accept perfect beauty, knowing you would have to pay forever? Paris, the Trojan prince, made his choice, and the moment he handed the apple to Aphrodite, a seed was planted, not just of love, but of resentment. Hera and Athena would never forget the defeat, and Aphrodite would never forgive any goddess who dared to shine too brightly. The gold of the pommel still reflects her face, not a common reflection, but that of a woman who knows she has won and who does not admit rivals. When someone asks her about that dispute, she just smiles and says, "I don't hold grudges, I just remember forever." The golden flash fades. You're back in the garden, but now everything feels heavier. Each thorn, each petal, carries centuries of silent disputes. If you were in Paris's shoes, would you make the same choice? You feel like this wasn't just a beauty competition. It was the beginning of a war that still echoes. And perhaps that is why some goddesses disappeared from Olympus without a trace. Aphrodite, seated in the center, absently stirs a glass of ruby wine. Her gaze meets yours, and for an instant, you are sure, if she wanted to, you would disappear too.
The banquet hall of the gods is lit by 1,000 golden torches. The wine flows like crimson rivers, and Apollo's music echoes softly, almost drowning out the invisible tensions. In the center of the table, Aphrodite. Her every move seems calculated to catch your eye, and it does. But that night, the light of dawn invades the hall before time. Eos has arrived. The personified dawn enters wearing a dress that seems to weave rays of sunlight.
His presence does not challenge Aphrodite with words, but with the simple fact of existing. As he passes, heads turn, laughter erupts, conversations change tone, and Aphrodite notices every look. Would you know how to recognize a war when it is fought with smiles? The game starts with gifts. Aphrodite raises her glass, the wine reflecting golden hues. Eos smiles, lifting hers, the liquid clear as water, but with an almost lifelike sheen. On Olympus, even a toast can be a threat. Kind phrases intersect, each with more than one meaning. They say the dawn doesn't last long, comments Aphrodite, her sweet smile hiding the blade. And they say that eternal beauty sometimes becomes boring, Eos replies, without blinking. The other gods pretend not to hear, but the air is thick. Even the wine seems denser. The music fades, and Hermes, ever watchful, approaches. He smiles at you and murmurs, "This is how wars begin on Olympus, without screams, without blood, at least not yet." You see something shine on the corner of the table. It is a golden apple brought by a mortal guest to honor the fairest one. The object rests between Aphrodite and Eos as a silent reminder of Paris's judgment, a symbol that awakens dangerous memories and perhaps the harbinger of another war. As the banquet continues, you sense that this dispute goes beyond vanity. The talk of Troy, the exchanged glances, the golden apple, all points to something greater, something that will change the fate of mortals and gods alike. Aphrodite touches the rim of her cup, her gaze fixed on Eos. Her smile is the same as that of someone who knows how to wait. And on Olympus, whoever knows how to wait wins. The banquet continues, but something has changed in the air. Conversations are quieter, looks are longer. The tension between Aphrodite and Eos is so evident that even the scent of the flowers seems denser. Hera, sitting a few seats away, watches with interest. The gleam in his eyes isn't of worry, it's of anticipation. She knows that conflicts between beautiful and proud goddesses always leave traces, and Hera loves to follow trails until she finds them covered in scandal. Athena, on the other hand, remains silent. She doesn't smile, she doesn't intervene, she just calculates, as if each word spoken that night were a piece on a war board that only she can see in its entirety. Then Aphrodite stands up. The dress shimmers under the torches as if it were made of liquid light. She walks towards Eos, carrying with her a small cup of ruby wine. "To celebrate the dawn," he says, offering the chalice. Eos hesitates, but accepts. The room falls silent. Wine touches Eos's lips, and in the next instant, her skin loses its warmth, taking on a cold glow as if the dawn light had been extinguished. Her eyes widen. The cup falls, the red liquid spilling onto the floor like blood. She smiled as she destroyed. Would you call that divine justice? Eos tries to speak, but her voice fails. A shadow of pain crosses his face before disappearing into a neutral mask. The effect is subtle, but everyone present knows something has changed. Eos's glow is dimmer and may never return. Hera raises her glass in a silent toast. Athena continues to observe, recording every reaction. Aphrodite just returns to her place, as if nothing had happened, the smile still on his lips. Would you applaud, or would you be afraid of being the next target? The guests resume the music and wine, but no one forgets what just happened. On Olympus, wars don't need battles to be won, just a cup offered at the right time.
The laughter at the banquet dies like a suffocated candle. No music, no toast, just the echo of the last words that no one dares repeat. Aphrodite puts down the cup, satisfied. Eos remains motionless, as if trying to compose herself without attracting attention. But the silence that descends is unusual. It is heavy, as if the room itself knows something is approaching. From the entrance arch, a figure crosses the shadows. The dress is neither gold nor crimson, but black as a starless night. The footsteps make no noise, and yet each of them is felt in the chest. Nemesis, the goddess of vengeance, walks to the center of the hall. Don't look at Aphrodite or Eos or Hera. Look at everyone. And that everyone includes you. In her hands she carries something small and opaque, a crown of silver thorns. The metal seems to pulse, as if it were alive or hungry. There are debts that not even beauty can hide, he says, his voice low but sharp. And there are bills to be paid by all who believe they have escaped. Aphrodite, for the first time that night, tilts her head slightly. The smile is still there, but not as firm. Hera watches, curious. Athena narrows her eyes, already trying to calculate her next moves. You feel a chill run up your spine. Nemesis is not like other goddesses. She does not play games. She does not provoke. She does not threaten in vain. When she appears, it is because she has already decided. The crown of thorns changes color under the torchlight, the silvery reflections turning dark red. And the feeling that someone, maybe you, will be the next target makes it impossible to breathe easy.
The whole garden seems to hold its breath. Aphrodite stands slowly, the torchlight dancing on the golden fabric of her dress. She stops in front of you, so close that her scent invades every thought. In his hand, a small mirror, with a frame decorated with roses and thorns. The glass doesn't just reflect your face, it seems to capture every detail of your soul. "There's a secret I want," Aphrodite says, her voice soft as silk, but with a hidden blade. "Another goddess's secret. Tell me, or this reflection will be erased forever." Can you imagine what this means? Living without a face, without identity, forgotten even by time? Aphrodite tilts her head, her eyes fixed on yours. "Without a face, would you be remembered?" she asks, with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Would you cheat on someone to save your image?" Behind her, Nemesis watches silently. Persephone looks away. Eos maintains her posture, but the tension is visible. Everyone is waiting for your answer. Aphrodite brings the mirror even closer, and you see the surface ripple as if it were about to swallow your own face. On Olympus, what is worth more, truth or reflection? She whispers. The silence is absolute. Even the distant sound of wind in the clouds seems to have stopped. Your mouth is dry, your hands are sweating. Telling the truth can destroy another goddess, but lying can erase who you are forever. Aphrodite does not force the answer, she just waits. And this wait is worse than any threat. You feel that whatever choice you make, the price will be paid. And on Olympus, no one forgets a debt.
The mirror in Aphrodite's hands begins to vibrate. First, a barely perceptible tremor, then as if a heart were beating inside the glass. Fine cracks appear on the surface, red as fresh blood. Each fissure opens with a sharp sound, like metal tearing through the flesh of the world. And then it explodes. Not in silence, but in 1,000 screams. Screams of anger, pain, fear. And one of them is yours. The nearest piece of shrapnel slices through the air and disappears before touching the ground. You realize, horrified, that each fragment reflects not the room, but pieces of memories that are not yours. Images of wars, stolen kisses, hidden betrayals, secrets of gods that should never be seen. An icy wind pulls you forward. The mirror, or what's left of it, turns into a dark, liquid portal, rippling like a deep lake. The force is irresistible. His hands try to grab something, but they only touch petals and thorns. What's behind the reflection? Your body passes through the surface, The sound of the banquet, the voices, Olympus, everything disappears. Now, there is only a dense silence, cut by the distant sound of dripping water. But what touches your skin isn't water. It's absolute cold, as if every molecule is trying to quench it. What if you never came back? Darkness swallows everything. The ground disappears. You are no longer falling through air, but into a void that seems to have no end. And at some point in that fall, he realizes he's not alone. There's something going down with you, or waiting for you to arrive. The fall finally ends. You land on a cold mirrored floor, but the reflection isn't yours. It's Aphrodite's. And this version doesn't smile. Around you, black petals float on a silent lake. Each petal carries a different face. Goddesses, mortals, nymphs, all beautiful, all frozen in time. Their eyes meet yours, as if waiting to become the next reflection. Then, a voice, calm, eternal, final. If you believe beauty is power, wait until you see what happens when it turns against you. Footsteps approach. Nemesis emerges from the dark. Her black dress glows with threads of sharp light, elegance hiding judgment. In her hands, not a crown, not an apple, but a mirror shard from the moment Aphrodite broke the rules. It shows things not meant to be seen. The next secret to surface is the last one Aphrodite will ever ignore. The lake shifts. The petals dissolve into golden dust. Aphrodite's reflection opens its eyes. You don't hear what it says, but you feel it, and the silence speaks louder than vengeance. Because when revenge becomes more beautiful than beauty itself, you'll know whose side you're on.